You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever. Recorded on location from Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt K, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy, and right to my left is KP.
Hello.
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we get angry, we get sad, as we cover our top 5 favorite emo movies.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Were you an emo?
I was not.
Well, we'll talk about that later. We'll get into it.
I know you're concerned if I have the correct emo movies on my list.
Well, little behind the scenes, I looked at your list.
Good.
I figured, you know what? Since they were there, I didn't want to cross over.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Because we share a note now.
We do share a note now, yes.
So we're doing our top 5 emo movies. Obviously, Matt being concerned, I knew this was, I wasn't sure I was... Matt wondering if I didn't know what this list means, that Matt came up with this top 5.
Yes, I did. But for the record, I'm not an emo either.
Okay. We're doing it in honor of Inside Out 2. One of the new emotions is, I don't know if you would necessarily, it's ennui. It's a play on the whole emo vibe. Kind of.
Kind of. Yeah. Kind of.
And that's where you got this from, correct?
No. I just thought emotions in general.
Oh, so that's where you were going.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know 100%
It's not
because you
all
just
about
threw it out
ennui,
there.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it was about ennui or not.
No, because I think emo stuff can be like just extreme emotions in any kind.
Gotcha. All right. So we are going to do emo movies, Inside Out 2, and no guest this week. Matt, in honor of Inside Out, you are going to play Inside Out movie trivia. Think of movies with inside or out in the title.
Okay. Wow, I know a lot of those.
There's a lot.
Yeah, especially from the 80s.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it is still Kevin Costner month, and that's where we start with a Kevin Costner fact. And I think we have a soundbite, too.
Tatanka, Buffalo.
There it is. Tatanka.
Yeah, now
Buffalo.
your life is complete.
Buffalo.
I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm feeling a little disserviced because I actually thought I was actually doing a Costner impression just now. That wasn't a soundbite.
That would be awesome. That would be an awesome impression.
Tatanka.
Yeah, see, that one was a soundbite.
Tatanka, Buffalo.
That was me again. How was I?
You were great.
Thanks.
You were
Awesome.
great.
Awesome.
Ryan's the only one who can't do it. So on to Kevin, because we're celebrating so much. Kevy, as I like to call him. We've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but this rabbit hole of Kevin Costner being very picky and choosy with the roles that he plays, right? We talked about Air Force One previously. Harrison Ford got that. He also turned down a role in Platoon. He went on record saying that he thought it portrayed American soldiers in Vietnam negatively and didn't want to... specifically, his brother was a veteran in the Vietnam War, and he didn't want to insult his brother. He would also go on to work with Oliver Stone and JFK, however, despite not being in Platoon. And that role for JFK, in kind of a twist of fate, was turned down by Harrison Ford and Mel Gibson.
That's weird.
That is weird. Odd combo.
Right?
I would hate either of them as that, so that's okay. He did also... This one is bonkers to me because I could not imagine these movies being any differently. Kevin Costner also turned down the role of Bill, as in the Bill from Kill Bill, Volumes 1 and 2.
I thought you were going to say Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Now that I would love to see.
That would have also been a very different
That would have
movie,
been
but
most excellent.
I don't know if I would have liked Costner as Bill. But he was directing Open Range instead. So I mixed feelings on that. Like I kind of like Kill Bill the way it is right now.
David Carradine?
Yeah, David Carradine. I liked him in there, but wow, it would have been pretty interesting to see Kevin Costner in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
It would have been.
Do we think he's mean enough?
Yeah, I do, because he's been playing this character on Yellowstone now that kind of shows
okay.
that he can be a villainous type, or at least a cruel or tough type. I think that would have been amazing. Bad move for Kevin.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino calls you, you pick up the damn phone, Kevin.
Agreed.
Open Range?
Decent. It is a decent Western. I'm not huge into Westerns, and I like Open Range.
I gotta say, I don't know much about Kevin Costner as a person until this month, but the dude has got grit. I will tell you that he sticks to his guns even when they are bad choices, and there is a lot of following his heart that he's done. Like, he doesn't participate in the things he doesn't participate in things he doesn't want to do, and the things, regardless of whether or not they work or not, he commits. There's something to that. He's got moxie.
Yeah, there's something to that. That is probably the best way you could possibly say anything about Kevin Costner. There's something to that.
Well, we're getting closer to his movie Horizon. Hopefully we get a review at the end of the month here.
Hopefully there's something to that.
Yes. We will see what Costner's got in store for us. It's interesting, before we get to our Inside Out 2 review, we had Kyle on from the Music Box a couple weeks ago promoting the wonderful event called Godzilla vs. the Music Box.
Right.
And they played tons and tons of Godzilla films. There was even a 24-hour marathon. Matt and I have various commitments. I was trying to get out there for one film, as I had said on the podcast, couldn't make it. We dispatched KP out to the event. KP, you got out to the Music Box twice, correct?
It was incredible. I will top load this by saying, like, such an extreme shout out to Kyle Chuber and the Music Box. If we did not know better, nobody would know that this is the first time that they have ever done this. This was like such a seamless event with like so much going on, but without being overloading or like you were feeling like you couldn't handle all of it. Absolutely incredible. The 24-hour marathon, wonderful. The food trucks that they had, delightful. They had vendors. It felt like a little convention where you could buy your Godzilla stuff. And I gotta say, one thing that I don't think Kyle emphasized enough, it was like a little sleeper hit in the middle, like almost the exact middle of that marathon. Ibira, Terror of the Deep, I'm going to say is hands down. Well, it's not my favorite, but if we're excluding Shin Godzilla...
It's hands down not my favorite.
If we're excluding like Shin Godzilla and some of the newer ones, Ibira is actually really good, and you don't think about it because there's not Godzilla. It is on HBO Max. I would say go watch it. That is the biggest takeaway I have from this festival.
He showed a movie without Godzilla in it?
It's not in the title, I should say.
Oh, okay.
It's not. He did show movies without Godzilla, but that one wasn't like... It was... You wouldn't know it's a Godzilla movie unless you knew.
Got it. Now I'm intrigued.
It's really good.
For the 24-hour marathon, how many films did you take in out of the whole thing?
I got them all. I got them all, baby.
God, that's a long time.
It was rough.
Any
I'm 30.
sleeping during some?
I can't do this anymore because I'm 30, but I did it. It was a lot of energy drinks and cigarettes, but, we're here. There was onigiri and, like, little sandwiches that the Music Box had come into. And I will say, like, I also shout out to the concessions workers because they were, like, all night. They were there, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Again, you would not... It was so
like 3
well
o'clock
done.
in the morning and you're still at the Music Box.
They did an incredible job with this. I cannot, like...
I would have been half in the
blown
bag,
away.
like, by midnight and fallen asleep.
100%. I was there for the Critics Fest, and I was falling asleep at the midnight screening that went till about 1:32 in the morning. My eyes were already shutting.
Yeah.
Well
done, KP.
There definitely were some folks who were doing that, but...
And the second time you got out, you saw what?
It was Mothra Day, so we were watching some of the Mothra movies. Also, again, like, incredible. For that one, he had mentioned on the show there was, like, an insect expert. Also, really cool. It reminded me, another shout-out we can make is to Ali.
Yeah.
It was, like, less reptile-y. Which makes sense because it was only bugs, but they did have those cool things where it's like the dead bugs that are mummified. It was great. It was
That's
great.
really neat.
They did an amazing job.
We're gonna be doing something with Ali
I know.
at the Music Box. So that's a little teaser.
A little teaser.
Yeah, more later.
Yes. But yes, great job for KP getting out there, getting us the insight on this. And great job to the Music Box, Kyle, everybody over there. They always do a wonderful job.
Absolutely. Hats
They do.
off. Get some sleep, guys. You've earned it.
All right, Matt. The year was 2015. I had missed the Inside Out press screening and wanted to catch up with it as soon as I could, so I went to the theater opening weekend and saw Inside Out on a Sunday, and it was a matinee, I remember. There I sat, surrounded by families with lots of kids, and as Bing Bong sacrifices himself, uttering the phrase, "Take her to the moon for me," I could not hold back the tears. I was a mess as I watched the rest of the Pixar masterpiece play out. As much as the kids in the theater seemed to like it, I knew it was hitting me and their parents even harder. Shortly thereafter, when ranking the best Pixar films, Matt and I actually agreed that this was our favorite of them all. When a film hits as deep as Inside Out, sometimes you just want to leave that alone. Too good to be touched, if you will. That said, Pixar went ahead and made Inside Out 2. With Riley now being 13 years old and hitting puberty, the idea for a sequel is not bad. I just want to make sure they did Bing Bong justice.
It should be nothing but smooth sailing from...
Hello? I'm anxiety. Where can I put my stuff?
A new emotion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We wanted to make such a good first impression.
What do you mean, we?
I'm Envy.
Look at your hair. Oh, yeah, not happening.
That's on we.
On what?
It's what you would call the boredom.
What's your name, big fella?
That's embarrassment.
Welcome to headquarters, embarrassment. Oh, we're doing a fit. No. Oh, nope, going high. Oh, you got a real sweaty palm there, buddy.
Look.
Inside Out 2 opens with all the emotions we met in the first film: joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness, in high spirits. Things are going smooth. That is, until puberty alarm goes off and the control room needs to make room for some new emotions. Riley is feeling these emotions, and obviously they need to come storming in. Enter ennui, embarrassment, envy, and most of all, anxiety. These new emotions, mainly anxiety, are about to guide Riley in a new direction. This is all happening because in the outside world, Riley is attending a hockey camp and trying to impress new friends that she wants to make sure accept her into their clique. Can all the emotions work together again to steer Riley forward while also grounding her to her core beliefs? Look, we just had Furiosa come out a few weeks back, a prequel to a masterpiece that was always going to be difficult to match. I feel we have the same situation on our hands here. I'm happy to report I'm very positive on Inside Out 2. And I don't want to waste the whole review just comparing it to the first. I'll just say that it's not nearly as inventive, and that's mainly because we've seen how the world of inside Riley's head works. That said, we do get creative moments such as brainstorms, bottled up emotions, and sarcasm, which is a literal chasm inside Riley's head. And there are plenty of other witty jokes, both visual and spoken, that had me laughing. I also liked anxiety was front and center in this movie. As kids hitting the teen years all go through this. We all did. Our judgment gets cloudy. I found the message of Inside Out 2 to be great for kids and something us adults can relate to and approve of. While I did not ugly cry like I did for Bing Bong, damn it, I did get a couple of tears rolling down my cheek at the end. I think this is Pixar's best in many years. Matt?
Yeah, to say that it's Pixar's best in many years is a fair statement. It is. But then again,
What is it saying?
They've had some misses.
They have.
And when you have a T, like the kind that you put a wiffle ball on, a T in the shape of Inside Out, well, that's a really nice T.
It really is.
You've teed this thing up.
But we've seen sequels get screwed up.
We have.
It's not a 100% success.
You didn't say anything there that I disagree with. The thing that I was saying when I walked out of the theater, which is a really convoluted metaphor, but I'll use it anyway. It's like if you own a painting that's a masterpiece, and one day you're changing the frame and you notice that the canvas actually wraps around and there's paint back there that you didn't see, like a nice portion of the painting, and you unfurl it and you see a little bit more of the edges. And hey, that's great, but the masterpiece is still, what you had always seen all along.
Sure.
So I agree with you. This doesn't add a whole lot. It didn't do anything incredibly original. There's some good jokes. The first third of the movie I thought was firing on all cylinders, and then the gas just kind of like lets out. Disappointingly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it somewhat follows the same path as the first one as far as the emotions getting lost and further back in her brain and needing to get back to the control room. Felt very repeated here. But again, I think they're very witty on the ideas such as the sarcasm. Just to go over this in a bit more detail, this huge chasm opens up in her brain like an earthquake. And then whatever you yell across that chasm switches into a sarcastic tone.
Yeah.
So let's try it here. It would be like this. KP does a great job on this podcast.
KP does a great job on this podcast.
It would change the voice like that, just the tone in a sarcastic manner. That was hilarious, right?
Yeah.
And teens all get like that. I mean, you're sitting next to your teenage son during this movie.
yeah.
You had to feel that. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen him be already, that kind of brooding teen.
You're a genius, Dad.
So there were those moments that I thought were great. I thought the brainstorm was hilarious. But as far as the new emotions go, they didn't have the same, especially the rainbow of emotions. It really focused on anxiety. I would have almost liked it better if it was just anxiety and maybe not bring the other emotions on, because
They didn't have much to do.
right, they were just sort of there, and so were the other emotions that we met the first time. It's really joy and anxiety for the most part. I mean, yes, sadness has a decent part in there.
Kinda.
Yeah, but anger was completely thrown off to the side. I mean, just had a couple of, funny moments. And I mean, envy a little bit, but embarrassment, more or less just jokes.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of disgust.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe a little trouble there trying to fit in too many emotions. They could have maybe narrowed it down to just adding one, perhaps.
Yeah.
But this is just nitpicking, and we'll get to more of that, but I am very positive on this. We brought KP also to Inside Out 2. KP, your thoughts?
Listen, I'm going to be right. Ryan's positive. Matt, you're
Positive.
kind of middle. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer. I've decided after thinking on it, I'm kind of net negative.
Huh.
So I'll start this out by saying, first and foremost, right? Like, maybe this is a me issue here, and it's maybe just that it's not made for me. I live my life with borderline personality disorder, which is heightened emotions and far more anxiety. So I am looking at this like, that's not what a panic attack looks like. These are way worse. So there's like this like instance of feeling like this just doesn't feel like my experience. So maybe that's the problem that I'm having with it. But I actually don't think that anxiety was handled particularly well. I like what they were going for with some of the things, but it just didn't feel as authentic as some of the initial feelings, on top of how I think it's weird, right? Like, I also tried to assess, where do you guys think this falls in terms of edutainment? Like, on that spectrum?
Okay. Lots to address there. First of all, I totally agree with you. I don't think that that's how anxiety works.
Right. Right.
And let's go right there, stop right there, put a pin in the other questions, because I did want to mention this and I didn't write it in my notes. I have to admit, everybody has anxiety, but I think I'm on the lower end of anxiety than some people have had it. Like when I've talked to friends, and I know
have
people,
more than you.
100%. And I talk to people, I know that there's people who have panic attacks and anxiety. I've never really fully experienced,
A panic attack?
not really, not too much. No,
They're
Never?
horrible.
not really. I mean, not to the point where it's a full-on panic attack. No, no. Yeah.
I have.
So I do want to say that. And so if someone has had it, and KP sounds like
All the time.
and dealing with way more anxiety, I can see you guys saying that they didn't get anxiety right. I thought just perfect, but I'm lower end.
That's more like drive. That was like
Exactly.
Anxiety was like
And-
her ambition more than anxiety. Anxiety is like closer to fear, in my opinion.
That was another point I had to make too. Like, I think that by having all these emotions come in, and
It muddies
part of the core
waters.
concept is about making Riley as a character who is a plot device, not a character. We should mention that. Riley more emotionally complex, instead of making the emotions themselves more emotionally complex, which they do kind of do with Joy. But, right, the first one, it was the design elements were whittling down to the 5 base feelings and then expanding upon them, just like a feelings wheel. They could have done that. And right, we see that fear and anxiety get along great because essentially fear is the root feeling of that. And then, right, like envy could have been done the same way with disgust. Ennui could have just been this alternate side and added emotional complexity to the characters we already have instead of to the plot device for the characters we have. I thought that was a missed opportunity in a lot of ways and just kind of handled very silly as well.
Listening to
Kind of
that,
agree.
almost have like the emotion come out of like fear the anxiety sort of bubbles out of it, like like a cell separating.
They could have, or they could have evolved in some way, like a Pokemon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's literally what I wrote down.
But whatever. It was fine. I want to get to your other question, edutainment. I actually do think that this is a fairly decent place to begin a conversation about emotional intelligence with your kids.
I thought so. I don't have kids, but I thought so.
Both of them. And obviously the first one is way better. Yeah.
Well, and see, that's where I was having a hard time too. I think to me, it feels much more serviceable as entertainment. We've already kind of talked about it a little bit.
Agreed.
There is a panic attack scene. The thing, I was livid with this because the thesis of this, if we're looking at this as edutainment, was just like, wait out the panic attack. Get this bitch some coping mechanisms. Right? Teach her a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. That is categorically not what you do when you are having a panic attack. Is just wait for things to settle over.
Everyone's different. I mean, I've certainly just powered through and breathed and tried to calm my mind, and that does help some people. I don't know.
That is not what she did. The inner workings of her mind just sorted themselves out, and that is you need even that breathe and do the mindfulness exercise. That is the coping mechanism that if we're trying to teach kids how to manage these things, it felt kind of irresponsible to just be like, well, just wait it out. Your brain will sort itself out. No, you need to take. I don't know.
I know, that's interesting. I'll have to re-examine that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we needed a puff of bong smoke to go into our head.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Well, also, okay, wait. To be fair, this is not intended to be anything other than entertainment. It's not to be taken literally. It's a cartoon.
Right.
And a lot of it is metaphor.
That is fair. And that's why I was saying part of this is also me trying to look at this from
it's not a psychology.
This lens of where do we put this? Because there is still moral and lessons to be learned from it. And I do think, I don't know, figuring out where on that spectrum between helpful tool to talk about these things and explore these things and educate versus just enjoy time.
Well, and even when they get things wrong, it's still a helpful tool to start a conversation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did want to mention Maya Hawke did the voice for Anxiety. I thought she did an excellent job as far as Anxiety. And I thought the animation of Anxiety looked pretty great for the way the emotion looked. I think they, if anything, I think they improved that in this one as far as the way the emotions look compared to the first four. I'm not saying blew it out of the water, but I like that they were a little bit more expressive in the actual animation style than they were in the first four of the or five emotions that we got in the first.
Yeah. And design-wise, they made really good choices. The frazzled hair that they put on Anxiety, brilliant. Mm-hmm. I think that Ennui is very slouchy and really sharp curves, and the color choices that they made, brilliant. I do have gripes in terms of envy and embarrassment. And when you're embarrassed, you make yourself small. And he does this in the film, so why they made him as big seems silly, and then why they made Envy so small, in contrast, seems dumb.
Interesting.
And I noticed the embarrassment was voiced by that Paul Walter Hauser. And I don't even know.
Barely voiced.
I was going to say, I don't even know why you get somebody of a name to be that character because did he say a word?
He does.
He does say a word?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why they couldn't hire back the original cast, is because they blew their wad on embarrassment.
How embarrassing.
But embarrassment was, again, just used as a little side joke,
Yeah. Parker walked away, my 16-year-old son, net positive on the movie. He liked it.
And he was a fan of
Big
Inside Out.
fan. Yeah, he was so looking forward to this. But that being said, this is a kid where recency bias affects him even worse than it affects me. I can't remember what movie it was that we went to, and he walked away saying it was his favorite
Argyle.
movie.
Garfield.
Yeah, Argyle. It was Argyle. It's that was my favorite movie of all time. I'm like, pump the brakes, dude. But I liked Argyle, but he was a little yeah, it was good. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the big takeaway.
Yeah.
It was good.
It is tough, just like we had, like I said, with Furiosa. It's tough to when you're coming after a movie that everybody's regarded as a masterpiece. Both these, Pixar and Mad Max, across the board, most people say masterpiece on both.
Yeah.
And now we got sequels to them. It's tough to live up to it.
Here's the thing. You don't have to watch the sequel. If you enjoy the first film, you want it to just leave it alone, go ahead and just leave it alone. Or if you do watch the sequel and you're disappointed, that does not have to diminish your opinion of the first film.
Absolutely. If anything, it strengthened my feelings towards it because everything I dislike about this one, they handled so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think that there was a reason there for the sequel being puberty is pretty funny. And the way kids change at that point. Yes, it's kind of like a layup. And like you said,
it's a layup.
Putting a ball on a tee. Yes, it is that. But it's like, well, it's sitting there. You might as well do it.
You might as well. Yeah. It's cash on the table.
Right.
It's also, to be fair to Pixar, very in alignment with what they've always done. When I was a kid, I was very, very young, Andy's age, when the first Toy Story came out. And then, right, as I'm aging, I'm getting to a point where I'm getting rid of some of my old toys, and Toy Story 2 is coming out. And then I'm going to college at the same time as Andy. That's very in alignment with what Pixar does generationally. So that makes sense.
That does. I saw the craziest fan theory that Riley's dad is actually Andy's dad. And it all lines up. He got divorced from Andy's mom, and that's why they're moving. And he goes and lives with Riley's mom and has a baby with her. The Andy and Riley are the same age.
Oh, jeez.
So, yeah, if you're ever interested to go down that rabbit hole, it's out there on YouTube.
All right. Let's bring it back into reality, if you will.
I thought it was a fun fan theory.
We like to do that would never happen moments. And being a Pixar movie, I was trying to still come up with one, but I left it blank. Do either of you have?
I do not.
Oh, I absolutely have one.
Let's hear it, KP.
I'm going to, and I'll spoiler warning this right now. My That Would Never Happen is the ending of all things. It was very like saccharine and very predictable in a lot of ways. Like Riley drops the ball in a lot of places in this film.
Or the puck.
Drops the puck in a lot of places. At one point in particular I will highlight is she elbow checks who is supposed to be her best friend 8 feet across the ice into a wall.
Drops her.
Just so she could score a goal. And like everything works out. They're all friends again. Everything's forgiven. She gets on the hockey team she wanted to get on. That is so unrealistic. No, there needs to be consequence.
Never happen.
That would never happen.
There is no consequence to her for that.
That would never happen.
Never happen. But maybe. I will say, I mean, if you're watching this and you're Tiger Woods, somebody who trained their whole life and wanted to just flat out be the best golfer, he took the other path that Riley was somewhat maybe teetering with. That was your
drive.
Yep. That was like, hey, look at what you can push your kids into.
True. Just be a monster and you can achieve greatness.
For the jaw-dropping moment, I feel bad here because maybe me and KP are going to go to fisticuffs, but I had two listed. We have not mentioned this yet, but there is a hilarious joke take on the Blue's Clues characters.
Incredible.
That was
Almost
my favorite
put it.
part of the movie.
Almost put it.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have kids. You're more familiar with Blue's Clues. I am familiar, but I would imagine it hits even better for parents that have watched Blue's Clues.
I actually
with their
love
kids.
Blue's Clues.
So,
to this day, I think it's amazing.
So I would imagine there's people that even enjoyed it more. But even as little as I know of Blue's Clues, I still thought that was absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
No.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Best part of the movie.
So it was that. And the anxiety attack actually was my highlight, and not as much as what we're seeing going on the outside, where it's actually Riley trying to calm down.
Yeah.
I like the way they actually portrayed it inside Riley's head with the emotion, anxiety, how anxiety started moving really fast around the control board.
Yeah, like the Flash.
Almost like a storm.
So fast that it's moving, and then it's just like looks like it's standing still.
Locked.
I love the idea of that. And then Joy comes over and starts talking to anxiety, and it's not even moving, but it's moving so fast it's not moving. I just love the look of it.
I agree. That was really, really cool. My jaw drop was the core belief. There's this new system in Riley's head that we learn about where her core beliefs start as these like tendrils in this basement area that sprout up into this beautiful flower-like structure.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, wow, that's really cool. That was the new thing that they added, and I thought it was really well done. and it was just beautiful.
It was. And when they go up and they connect, it's almost like a guitar string to a sense.
Yeah.
And it would actually sort of like strum, and you would hear her thought or that.
Right.
That,
like, I'm a good person.
Yeah, that
kind
core
of thing.
thought that went into her body. I loved the look and, the way it was presented. Great point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
Really neat. KP?
Mine, so there was a second emotional breakdown in this film, and it was not Riley's. My jaw-dropping moment was Joy's emotional breakdown in this film. She has like a little moment on a scissor lift that all the other feelings comfort her through. And that was the most relatable part about it. It was this thesis on growing up and like you have to let go of some of the joy you have as you get more responsibilities and you like start to have all of these new feelings and still trying to find and make space for them while all of these other voices are screaming in your head. That was like really... That to me was like, man, I want more of this. That's why I wanted some of the other feelings to be. It was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
It was. I mean, just the idea of Joy taking out the bad memories and throwing them into the back of her head.
Right. That won't come back to haunt you. Never. It's a great idea.
But it's just interesting that you still need those ideas and Joy realizing that to actually be a full-rounded person. You know? It is pretty awesome. Let's go movie poster quote. What do you got, Matt?
This movie is emo AF. That's my quote.
Ties in
That
with
was
top
for the
five.
Yeah, that was for the kids.
My movie poster quote was, "Calm your nerves, have some joy. Inside Out 2 is a solid sequel."
Oh boy. I did make space for emotional complexity by getting rid of the emotional depth.
Tough crowd.
And that's not wrong. It's a good quote.
How many Jaws, Matt?
I gave it 3 Jaws. I think it's a solid movie. It is not a 4-Jaw movie.
What I like is that we're actually assigning Jaws to the right tempo here, because I should like it a little bit more than you. I went the full half over. I went 3.5 Jaws for Inside Out 2. You went 3. I went 3.5. KP didn't like it as much as us. KP, how many Jaws?
1.5.
Oh,
that's
too
I did
long.
not like it that
Bite
much.
your tongue.
You hated it?
I thought it was
It's
irresponsible.
at least a 2-Jaw.
I thought it was
It's at
irresponsible.
least a 2-Jaw. BS.
I don't know if it's irresponsible.
That panic attack was not handled well. I do not think, like, for the record, also, PSA, if you see somebody having a panic attack, don't just, like, assume everything is full. Like, I am not the person to educate people on how to, like, manage a panic attack, but there is help out there. Don't just muscle through it. That is so irresponsible.
Yeah.
All right, JawHeads, if you've seen Inside Out 2 and you have Twitter pulled up or you want to shoot us an email, our email is feedback@cinemajaw.com. All on the socials, we're at Cinemajaw. Shoot us a message. Shoot us an email. Let us know what you think of the movie.
Tell us how you're feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some joy out of this podcast for you.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, our top 5 favorite emo movies, plus some movie trivia. Stick with us, JawHeads.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Jawheads, you may already know this, but Prince of Thieves is my personal favorite Kevin Costner movie. Followed with a close second and probably Waterworld, but I love Prince of Thieves, and here is the moment which is very integral to the Robin Hood legend, where he is crossing the river and first meets the merry men as led by Little John. Enjoy.
There was a rich man from Nottingham who tried to cross the river. What a dope! He tripped on a rope. Now look at him shiver. Beg for mercy, rich man. I beg of no man. Well, this here is our river, and any man who wishes to cross must pay a tax. I will pay no tax. As you can see, I have nothing. Not even my sword.
Bollocks! Any man who travels with 2 servants and claims he's got no bloody money is either a fool or a liar.
Yeah, he's a liar! Who are you?
John Little. Best man of the woods.
Hey, lads! Well, best man, you lead this rabble?
Yes, I do, mate. And if you tusspots want to travel through Sherwood Forest, it's going to cost you that gold medallion.
This is sacred to me.
It's sacred to us too, matey. That there will feed us for a bloomin' month.
You'll have to fight me for it.
Love to, mate.
Sparkling drinks, it's awful dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back on Cinemajaw, ready to talk some emo movies and play some movie trivia. And I wanted to start off by saying this past weekend I had some friends over, shot a few hoops, went to the new Goose Island Brewery that opened up my house.
Good.
Good. It's over by the salt shed.
Yeah.
They moved over. And then we went back to my house and we sat on my deck and we listened to music for a few hours. Just slugging back beers, having a good time, talking. And I thought, oh, it was so great. I mean, none of us like categorized the music that was on, you know, so on and so forth. And it was just a joy.
That's a subtle dig, isn't it?
That does not sound like fun at all.
So let me get to this, JawHeads, and don't cut me off here, Matt. So no categorize, just enjoying it, adding some music to, you know, my playlist if somebody played something good, so on and so forth. I bring this up, JawHeads, because Matt had mentioned emo movies and then made a joke to me on the text, like if I was even going to know what to pick for an emo movie. Is it a category I normally would select? Emo movies? No, not at all. I wouldn't even really reference it as a category of a movie, but we're doing it. It works. I looked it up. There's enough out there. Not going to argue too much. But I bring this up because Matt and KP and I have also sat on my deck and on top of Matt's deck through the years and listened to music. And unfortunately, it's actually the worst because
what are you talking about, man? Hey,
let me tell you what happens, JawHeads. And this is not a joke. You can tell by KP's laughter, this is not a joke. What happens is as the music starts to play, Matt has this weird thing, and then KP argues with Matt, and it even just gets worse. But Matt likes to categorize and then subcategorize and even subcategorize every song that's playing. And I know there's people out there that are confused because I had never seen it done before. But if a song comes on, Matt doesn't just say it's punk rock. That would be one thing.
It would be.
It's like, this is dance punk. And I'm like, what? I don't know.
I've never said dance punk.
What? Give me a top, any type of subgenre. Give me one.
Punk specifically?
Yeah.
Hardcore, ska.
I mean, we can go. Punk. What else?
Pop. There's like classic.
Here we go. I shouldn't have got it started.
Snotty punk.
I shouldn't have got it started.
Street punk.
But okay, so my point
Skate
is,
punk.
Here we go. My
very
point
different.
Is,
all of these are very different, right? You should not have unbottled this.
And then there's comedy punk.
The song comes on, and then an argument starts. Is this ska punk or is it dance punk or is it some punk? I'm like, who cares? It's just punk music. Hey, did you guys see the blah blah? And the argument keeps going on. And Matt's train of thought when this happens is just into this. It is. There's just nothing going. So after a while,
it's called
I'm
hyper-focus.
After about 2 hours, I'm like, you know what, guys? Let's call it fucking rock and roll and get off my fucking deck.
This has happened like how many times? Like I pretty much all of them.
Yeah, probably.
It's unreal, but
I like to think about music.
I know,
but
but
how things connect up.
This brought me to the emo movies because I thought this is such a Matt topic. I looked up emo movies. You got to online to get some ideas going, and the first thing that pops up, and I just thought it's so Matt that he picked this, is everybody arguing what an emo movie is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, it's like everybody's going to argue, is this an emo? No, and nobody's an aficionado of the emo movie. There's nothing out there that says.
I am an aficionado of the emo movie.
So
hello.
I was born in the Midwest and grew up in the mid-2000s, okay?
You got two here at this table.
So because you are, Matt, I know for a fact there's at least one listener out there right now that's like, I hope they clarify emo movie. So your take on it, Matt, for the JawHeads out there.
I would just say an emo movie is anything, to put it in the most simple terms possible, that hits you in the feels, right? Like emo, what would you say, KP? I see you wagging your head.
I disagree with that because there are a lot of feelings that you can have. I think it's goth adjacent, but
very goth adjacent.
Typically very melancholic.
So
it's
got
not
goth.
like
we threw some goth into the pot.
Yeah.
What else?
For sure.
Go ahead.
Very downward feelings,
we
right?
got downward feelings in the pot. Yeah. Sour feelings.
Everything everywhere all at once will hit you in the feels, but that brings you up. It is not emo.
No, usually there's
emo.
Probably not.
Usually there's like a romance involved that really isn't working out probably toxic. These people really should not be together, but
Wow,
they love each other.
KP, you're just nailing it.
I listened to so much Mayday Parade.
I just said hits you in the feels. I mean, yeah.
I am a 30-year-old emo. Okay?
I was never into emo, to be fair. I mean, what, like hot water music?
I don't even know what you are talking about.
Water cooler? What?
Hot water music.
I've had hot water.
No, never mind. It's a band.
Oh.
Really?
The Used?
No,
we're
I
in
don't know
completely like Alkaline Trio.
Alkaline Trio.
I would actually argue that they're a little too upbeat for emo in my tastes. No Hawthorne Heights.
And that voice, the voice KP just did was emo. There we go. Did you hear the emo voice?
KP, you're more emo than me.
Give it to us one more time, KP.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. I guess I could.
Okay, so we got an idea of what emo is. I put together my list. Most of these have been mentioned before on various lists for me.
Same.
We'll go quickly.
Okay.
I'll start at number 5.
Go.
I wanted to go with an animated emo movie. I thought, let's throw one out there. I know there is one. I did a little bit of research.
Oh, for sure.
And I came across with The Corpse Bride.
Sure.
This was directed by Tim Burton, Johnny Depp starring as Victor, Emily Watson as Victoria. And these families, this is very much like the Nightmare Before Christmas style-wise. And
a spiritual sequel.
Correct. And in the movie, these two people are arranged to get married. They don't know each other. They're arranged to get married. Victor can't go through with it, stumbles into a graveyard, and ends up getting married to a corpse. Hilarity ensues.
Like you do.
The reason why I pick it as an emo movie, number one, Victor just emotes emo. He's got the black hair, the look of
Again,
the
I
style.
would go with this more goth than emo, but
we're
sitting on your
nitpicking.
back porch here. Yeah.
We're nitpicking.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't seen it, because I know a lot of people jump over this one and just watch The Nightmare Before Christmas. I've only seen The Corpse's Bride once, and I think this Halloween I'm going to give it another spin because it's a wonderful animated film.
I agree. I actually love The Corpse Bride. I think I've seen it twice, but maybe only once. Definitely worthy of another spin. Okay, first of all, I'm just going to put this out on Front Street. My entire list is dedicated to The Crow. I've talked about it way, way too much. I think it is the most emo movie of all time. I'm not going there.
Good.
It is. This list is dedicated to The Crow, and not that crappy new
That's
one.
so emo of you,
right? I am going to start my number 5 with Jim Jarmusch's Only Lovers Left Alive, one of the most romantic vampire movies of all time. Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston. It's golden. Everything about it, because it's about the mundane existence of vampires. And talk about ennui. They are just like ennui epitomized in two people perfectly. And it's just fun. It's fun the way they stay off the grid. It's fun the characters that come in and out of their little lives. And at the end, it's really about their relationship.
Right.
You know, that's perfect and perfectly flawed at the same time.
Too cool for the room, those two.
Yeah. That movie is so underrated.
I still have only seen it one time. I caught it was on that Pluto TV. I caught it for like a half hour when I had nothing going on, and I was like, "Man, I gotta watch this again," because I saw it once through, and then that like half hour chunk, and
I think it was my
loved
favorite of the year when it came out.
It's definitely up there for you. My number 4, I wanted to go with an action emo movie.
Okay.
And I came across with one. This one's more, I'm thinking emo in just style here, not so much the actual plot line of the movie, but I went with Underworld.
I'm not familiar.
This is Kate Beckinsale, vampire versus werewolves,
where she shoots through the floor.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And I'm thinking emo in this time, in like I said, just stylistic version of like an action movie. The black hair dyed, obviously. The action sequences. Everything about it just, to me, came across as an emo movie style-wise.
Yeah, tough to argue. I mean, anything with vampires and werewolves
has to.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
And this fits in the guilty pleasure category, to be honest. Like, I've seen, I think, 3 maybe of these Underworld movies, and they're so not my type. I'm always like, I actually wish they were a lot better, because I love the idea of vampires versus werewolves in, like, you know, stylized action like that.
Some people swear by these films.
But the first one, definite guilty pleasure. I've seen it twice and I enjoy it.
All right. I am flipping us to the 80s with a film directed by Cameron Crowe. And for my money, and KP, as I've already admitted, you're more emo than me, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm also a little older than you. If there's an iconic image that just screams emo to me, if you had to put emo into just an icon that you were going to show somebody like a flashcard, it is John Cusack holding a boombox over his head. That is emo in a picture. And the movie is Say Anything from 1989, Cameron Crowe directed.
I do not feel this is emo, to be honest.
Are you fucking kidding?
And you're telling me
I
it's
gave her my
#1?
heart and she gave me a pen. Get out of here. What are you talking about?
I just feel, like to me, I know it's Cameron Crowe, but to me, it feels very much like the John Hughes movies.
Oh, for sure. Which maybe we'll get to. Maybe we'll get to those.
So the John Hughes fit into the emo category as well, huh?
I absolutely think so, too.
Interesting. We're definitely on my back porch category here where Matt's fighting his categories. I myself just don't see it that way.
KP, back me up on this one.
There is, listen, I'm going to appoint myself the resident emo of this group. There is a Hawthorne Heights song, which is a verifiably incredibly emo band, where their song Nikki FM has the line, "I'm outside of your window with my radio," literally designed based upon that film. I don't know if I would call it the most iconic, but...
No, when I say iconic, I mean that image. Like, you could just take John Cusack out of it and just use his silhouette holding the boombox. That's an emo image. Like, an emo person would put that on their Trapper Keeper in 1992. Anyway, what you got there, Rye? That's your next pick.
I think what's funny is, because you love all these, categories. You would be like, oh, an emo person would do that. I would just do that as a film fan. And then I wouldn't feel like but then somebody would see
That's
that,
okay.
and Matt would be like,
You're
he's
a poser.
emo. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you would think oh, he's emo. And I'd be like, what the fuck? Especially early in the days, I'd be like, what the hell's he talking about?
Maybe that's how I make sense of the world, Rye. I categorize things.
So my number 3, we brought it up not too long ago. I forget what list. I know you brought it up on your list, and I don't know what we were talking about, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But 2001's Ghost World.
Oh, yeah.
Thora Birch is emo times 10.
Yeah.
Because you can actually make a case for American Beauty.
I would say absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And she's also the reason why I would say American Beauty is an emo movie.
To be fair, it's also, and I forget the actor's name, but he's like, I just watch the plastic bag fly around, and sometimes the beauty just fills my heart. And he starts to cry.
Oh, man.
That's emo.
That's totally emo. But Ghost World is Thora Birch and a young Scarlett Johansson. And also Steve Buscemi in there.
Right.
You got these 2 young girls who befriend Steve Buscemi, who's kind of a loser-esque guy. And they're into, collecting records and so on and so forth. Very great indie film, not necessarily a film that you have to seek out because it's emo-worthy. I'm saying seek it out for various reasons. It's worthy on all kinds of levels.
Based on a book by Daniel Close, a graphic novel, which is also worth your time.
It is?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a classic. It's a treasure.
So my number 3, Ghost World. Yours?
I'm surprised this wasn't on your list. I mean, we don't have to spend much time on it, but Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I don't think of it as an emo movie. That's my problem. It's one of my favorite films of all time.
He's trying to get over her, and we see his memories crumbling and fading before us. It's so emo, man. That's what emo is,
What, erasing your memories? No,
like the sadness of love lost, I think, is what it's about. And just how depressing it is that, just when he finds her, because it kind of goes in reverse, that's the last memory that fades away,
Yeah, but see, I read emo, and this is where we come off different. I read it, or at least I always look at it, as they're oversensitive people in general, especially these characters. I don't feel that Joel is oversensitive here. I feel like he's sensitive... appropriate because he's losing. He thinks it's a good idea to erase this love from his life,
and that's not an overreaction to erase somebody from your brain.
But that's because she had erased him, is what he had heard, like that, and he was like, "I'm going to erase her from my memory." And then, as it's going through, he realizes what an absolute mistake this is. But is that an overreaction?
Right.
I don't know.
That's why it makes it an emo movie because he can't take it back. He just has to let her go. Trust me. emo movie.
So speaking of overreactions, that's where my number 2 comes in, and it is a 2003 film. It's funny because I'm right in the whole era of the emo movies. I'm looking at it now. 2005, 2003, 2001,
for sure.
2003, and 2001. Those are all my years of my movies.
There's some stuff in the 80s, which we're going to get back to, but go on.
But my number 2 came out in 2003, and it stars Evan Rachel Wood, Holly Hunter. The movie is 13.
Yeah, I saw this one. I don't know this movie.
Smaller movie. And this is before I really knew Evan Rachel Wood talent-wise. I must have seen her in something prior to this. But in there, it's basically a daughter growing up, hitting the age of, very much like Riley in a lot of ways.
13? Yeah.
And you start to develop new friends, You
do. Things change.
And there's older friends involved, and there's drugs involved, there's drinking involved, the over sensation of everything with her in the movie, Evan Rachel Wood. All of that plays out in this movie, and really it is just a mother-daughter relationship of the mother, Holly Hunter, trying to control her daughter through this difficult period of time. Unbelievable performance by Evan Rachel Wood. And obviously she
Holly
went on.
Hunter's great too.
Yeah, and she's great in there as well. But smaller movie. I know we haven't talked much about it on Cinemajaw, if ever.
I don't think we ever have.
And I thought of this as an emo movie where I was thinking about someone being very sensitive, very over the top with their emotions. Everything's flying high at the age of 13. Check this one out.
I cannot either confirm or deny that this is an emo movie, so I'm going to have to take your word for it, Ryan. All right. I mentioned earlier that we were going to talk about John Hughes. We're going to talk about John Hughes right here. 1985, The Breakfast Club. Don't you forget about me.
I still don't think this is an emo movie either.
This is so emo.
I think this...
KP's wagging her head.
KP's giving you... I don't know.
There's 2 emo characters. But...
There's 2 emo characters... But I think you can make a case for the entire movie being largely driven by the emo aesthetic. Even the jock, even the nerd, even the punk rock metal guy kind of fit into this ragtag
Bender
group.
Is the most emo out of all of them. The basket case
Ali Sheedy, yeah.
I disagree.
Really?
I would say she's more goth.
That's interesting because
she's weirder. But Bender is the one who hates himself more.
They all hate themselves for various reasons. This is such a great movie. I love The Breakfast Club. Like, it might be one of my desert island picks. If you put The Crow next to Breakfast Club, that would be a Sophie's Choice if I ever heard of one, But this is a movie where, at least for me, I first got to emo and, it came out from my coming of age. And I don't think it's been topped. I don't think it's been topped as far as teen movies go.
All right.
It's a masterpiece.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I just never think of it as an emo movie.
It's an emo movie.
All right. Wishy-washy from KP. The emo police is on you, Matt. Not the karma police, the emo police. My number 1. Let me just read the description of the plot line, because as I was reading it off of this, I just thought,
you're like, that's emo?
No, I was just thinking, what a strange plot description for a movie. And yet we all love this film here on Cinemajaw. Here's the plot line. During the presidential election of 1988, a teenager named Donnie Darko sleepwalks out of his house one night and sees a giant demonic-looking rabbit named Frank, who tells him the world will end in 28 days. When Donnie returns home, he finds that a jet engine has crashed into his bedroom. Is Donnie living in a parallel universe, or is he suffering from mental illness? Or will the world really end? What a great description.
It's a wild movie.
Donnie Darko, 2001, very emo. More emo than The Breakfast Club. Give me some props.
Oh, absolutely. I would say
we have
hands
different
down.
definitions of emo.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't even think The Breakfast Club counts as emo myself, but
it absolutely
I don't think
does.
it's brooding enough.
Are
really
you
don't.
kidding me?
No.
The Breakfast Club is all brood.
I know,
The color
but it's
palette
80s
is way
brood.
too-
It's 80s, like John Hughes is its own little thing. Like, I wouldn't put that in the emo category.
Proto-emo? Do we need a subcategory? It's definitely proto emo.
Jeez, I don't know.
Prague emo.
Donnie Darko, the music, the look, the style, the way he mopes around.
I see it more as goth.
They're very one in one. I think
They
hand
are-
in hand.
they are similar.
So it's very close. So for me, my pick at number one is Donnie Darko.
Okay. I am going to be very controversial with my number one pick because it is a comedy, but I think that it's also one of the funniest movies of all time, in my opinion. I'll die on that hill. It is directed by one of Ryan's favorite directors, and I'm talking about Rushmore, Wes Anderson's
It's not emo either,
best
I don't
movie.
think.
It is absolutely.
You got the worst emo picks for picking the category. I was like excited to hear what you had for emo, and I gotta say I'm disappointed with your five
You
picks.
see, Ryan, this is where the fun in gatekeeping genres is. You get it now.
Hey,
This is a terrible pick at number one, dude.
Did you know what?
You think Max Fisher is emo?
Did you know what Kevin Costner's word for emo is?
Tatanka. Buffalo.
It's a true story. It's a true story. Yes, Max Fisher
This is
and
terrible.
Bill Murray's character are fighting for the love of a woman, and it's largely unrequited to both. And yet, at the same time, the institution of Rushmore and what all that means swirls around. Like, she was my Rushmore, Max. All of it, the whole movie. It's just like, you want to talk about ennui. The way that Max approaches life and his just total detachment at times. You know, he is a very I don't give a shit character, but in a this is all screwed anyway, so who really cares kind of way, like apathy, which I do think is a part of emo because it is punk.
Absolutely.
It's punk adjacent, right?
And it's absolutely very like sullen and
Yeah.
misanthropic and
Right,
like existentialist. Yes.
Yeah, right. And I think that is Rushmore to a large extent. It's a dark movie in palette. It is a dark movie in terms of its humor. It does kind of have a bit of an uplifting ending, but like getting there, that journey is just like a comedy of errors. Wonderful movie.
I'm just saying, like, if we're going to finally tackle emo movies, I'm not saying that somehow you couldn't make a case for Rushmore. I just
did.
wouldn't put Rushmore at your number one emo movie. Would you, KP, you hear me out on this? Like, your number one emo movie, and you would say Rushmore? I think people are just like, what the hell is he talking about?
It's an emo movie, and it's the best one. In my opinion, obviously, The Crow is not on this list.
It's a great movie. I just think if you're talking emo movies, there's
it's
other
very
ways
goth.
you should have went. Yeah. It's not goth.
Oh, sure it is.
I don't see it being goth at all.
The grays and blacks and the way they dress and the way they talk. There's not a sun in the sky in any shot in the movie Rushmore.
I think there's a pool scene in there where Bill Murray
Even
goes
the
in with the cigarette.
Right, he goes into the pool with a cigarette.
That's emo.
Very emo.
It's Wes Anderson.
I think it's the tone. I do agree that Wes Anderson is a little too whimsical for
It's way too whimsical.
But that is the least whimsical Wes Anderson film.
I guess, but I mean, it's definitely a Wes Anderson. I mean, there's no denying that when you're watching Rushmore, you would just know stylized. It's a Wes Anderson movie. So it still has his whimsical taste and aesthetic throughout the entire film.
And sarcasm.
Like, as a bit of a counterpoint, right? Like Lisa Frankenstein, I would throw in this category. I would not put Rushmore there.
Right.
Where it's still quirky, still charming, still funny, but...
That was my only honorable mention
Lisa
I had listed.
Frankenstein is a great pick.
Yes, I had that as an honorable mention. I just thought, like, well, I'm not going to put it on the list. Obviously, we just reviewed it, 8 weeks ago. So I thought, like, I'm not going to put Lisa Frankenstein on there, but I'll mention that as an honorable mention. That's the only honorable mention I had.
Okay. I got a few. Edward Scissorhands.
Yes, definitely. That's
Absolutely.
emo. Well done, Matt.
Thank you.
All Tim Burton, really.
Yes.
Yeah, probably. Napoleon Dynamite.
Hard no. What?
You don't think so?
Hard no.
I don't think Matt knows what emo is exactly.
There is a Jamiroquai dance sequence in this film.
Yes, but it's done for sarcasm and I think it's an emo movie. Fight me.
I just did. JawHeads, this is the perfect time to plug feedback at cinemajaw.com. If you were in the Napoleon Dine, I think Jamiroquai dance sequence should never be, unless it is not emo. That is the only time to put that in a...
Just the way the characters are. You don't think so?
No!
All right, we got to talk about what you define as emo.
The Craft.
Yes.
That's emo.
For sure. But also, you're leaning more toward the goth side of
that's
emo.
because that's
That's a
how I
huge
think of
part
it.
of
It's a
it.
huge part. I think
There's
that's-
like street emo, which is more like down to earth, not as gothy.
Okay, this is where you go with your dumb subgenres. We're
There's still
saying
some
emo.
and there is still some guy liner. Am I the only one who remembers
Absolutely.
Pete Wentz?
Right.
I'm not arguing with your picks.
Oh, I know, but so my point was going to be that I think goth is like a major part of it.
Okay, Scott Pilgrim.
No.
Borderline.
Thank you.
Borderline on that for me.
I'm not quite there.
All right. Well,
the jeans are not tight enough.
It's not about the characters. It's about the tone.
No, but I
he's
think it's
chasing
all of
Ramona
it.
Flowers.
I think it's
Yeah,
all.
for sure. It's all of it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have some of the look. That's why, like I said, I picked Underworld just because in my mind, I think as an action emo movie, I think Underworld, and so on and so forth. So sometimes it's just the look of the movie.
Okay.
that
Rushmore
made
is
me
a
think.
stronger pick than Underworld.
If you're talking that it's an
I
emo
don't
movie,
know.
I don't think so.
All right. Well,
I'm not arguing the movies, obviously not, but Rushmore would be better. But if we're talking what's the more emo of movie, I would cast Underworld. KP.
I think you're
I'm-
confusing emo with goth.
They're much closer than I think you're not allowing them to be.
All right. Well, maybe this is a discussion for post Cinemajaw.
You're just going for like emotions, like a big emotional swing.
No.
That's what it felt
I thought
like.
KP's definition at the top was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So now, JawHeads, you know why I want to kick these two off of my porch after listening to their arguing of what topic a song fits into, what genre. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
enough. That was our emo list.
This is the least listened to episode. Everyone's turning this off on their porches.
No,
They're
no,
like,
this
we
is-
got to get these two out of here.
Riveting conversation. Riveting.
This is good
The
stuff.
funny thing is, they either agree with me or you. There's no middle ground.
We'll find out.
Yep.
We'll find out. Hey, next week on the show, 2 movies coming out: The Bike Riders and Thelma.
Very excited for Thelma.
So hopefully we'll get to both those and review both. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Ready to play some trivia?
I'm always ready to play trivia.
No guest this week, so we are playing Stump the Kubinski. Matt needs 3 or more not to be stumped. And in honor of Inside Out 2, we are playing Inside Out Trivia. So think of movies with inside or out in the name.
All right.
Sound good?
Yep.
Question number 1.
Bette Midler.
Matt, Jodie Foster made one movie with Spike Lee. Name it.
Well, geez. Oh my God. Why can't I think of a Spike Lee movie with inside or out in the title?
We reviewed this on the Jaw. I think it was a retro review.
God damn.
Jodie Foster has only been in one movie directed by Spike Lee. We're looking for the name of it here. And Matt is drawing a blank.
Yeah. Inside Llewellyn Davis. I have no idea.
Inside Man.
Yeah.
This was Denzel Washington.
Yeah. Yep. If you had said Denzel, I would have gotten it.
I know, but I went Jodie Foster. Had to throw it off a little bit, you know?
You did.
0 for 1.
I always forget that Spike Lee directed that.
I know.
It's very unspike.
Very, very. 0 for 1. Question 2 over to you, Matt. I have a feeling you might get this one. Oscar Isaac starred as a folk singer in this 2013 Coen Brothers movie.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
I couldn't believe you said that just there. I was like, what? He just stole my second question.
Did you get my Bette Midler reference?
I did not.
Okay. We'll see it. I'll tell you at the end.
Yeah. Matt is 1 for 2. Question 3, Matt. Name the 2 leads from 1998's Out of Sight.
The 2 leads from 1998's Out of Sight.
Yes. Also directed by the Coen brothers.
Really?
I believe so.
Read the synopsis to me.
No, I'm not
Come
doing
on.
that.
Come on.
No. My hint for you would be that the actress we just recently, in recent times, reviewed one of her movies.
Oh, dude, we do a movies podcast in recent times.
Recent times.
That does not narrow it down. We talk about 100 movies every week.
I butchered it. I was thinking Coen Brothers. It's Steven Soderbergh. Steven Soderbergh directed.
And the movie is titled?
Out of Sight.
I don't know. No clue.
Absolutely incorrect, Matt K. We were looking for one George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. J-Lo.
Wow.
Starred in a movie together.
Huh.
And it's worth your time. Damn good one. Matt now is 1 for 3. He needs the next 2 not to be stumped. Question 4, Matt. Best Picture winner of 1985, Out of Africa. Starred Robert Redford and which actress?
Oh, man. Part of me wants to guess Meg Ryan. 1985, Redford and who?
You want a hint?
Sure.
It's not Jennifer Lopez.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Out of Africa was Madonna.
We're looking for Meryl Streep.
Was it? I was going to guess Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Robert Redford. Absolute classic.
Never seen it.
I've seen it once.
Yeah.
It's well worth your time. Last question. You're not going to win it this time, Matt, unfortunately. Name the 1997 movie that starred Kevin Kline and Joan Cusack and was about a Midwestern teacher questioning his sexuality after a former student makes a comment about him at the Academy Awards. Oh, wow. A complete blank by Matt.
I got
Kevin Kline.
Nothing.
Kevin Kline, your buddy.
I love Kevin Kline.
Joan Cusack, you're a fan.
Who isn't?
Anything?
No.
Nothing?
What is this? No.
We're looking for In and Out.
Huh.
In and Out.
Couldn't have been even more on the nose, right?
Right. Couldn't be.
You blew it!
Absolutely, Matt K. Unfortunately, you didn't get it this week.
Down and Out in Beverly Hills.
Oh, Down and Out in Beverly Hills with Bette Midler.
Yeah. And not Sybil Shepherd. Maybe it is. No. Well, we can look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget that movie even existed, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure Danny DeVito's in it. Yeah, I forgot about it too.
Well, Matt does not get it correct this week. Always next week. You'll give it another try.
Yeah, true.
Brings us to the end of a very fun and entertaining Jaw. First and foremost, we got to thank our producer, our editor, KP.
Of course, I would not wish to be anywhere else. As always, this is dropping Monday, so that means that this is the last chance you guys have to buy tickets for the show, as that will be next Friday, June 29th at Reggie's for Pancakes and Booze. It's going to be good.
Do it. Do it, everybody.
Also want to thank our Patreons. Thanks for supporting the show. As soon as we get done recording this podcast, we are recording an extra for the Patreons.
Yes. It was inspired by our dear friend Katie Glidewell. We're going to give you a little extra bonus review of Near Dark.
Yes. Both of us, first time watch.
Which would you call that an emo movie?
No.
No, me neither.
Okay, I was going to say, if you're thinking that's emo, I mean, it's time to have fisticuffs.
Yeah, it's more.
But we are going to review Near Dark and do that as a retro review for the Patreons. If you want to join us over to Patreon, go to patreon.com/Cinemajaw and join us there and help support the show.
Yeah,
Thank you in advance.
Thank you in advance. Any level of support, by the way, it should be mentioned, Ryan, does unlock our entire back catalog of bonus content, and we're adding to it all the time.
All the time. Love it. In fact, you can watch a video of Matt and KP ripping up a catalog. As
a phone book, yeah.
It was a phone book, but it was actually a catalog.
It was. Yeah, that's
Where
true.
are we going to get a phone book in 2023?
But if you're a Patreon, you can go and you can watch that unbelievable content.
Yeah. The feat of strength.
So join us over there. If you can't join us there, just leave us a review, a star rating, any of that good stuff on any of the podcast apps you're listening to this.
Click something.
Do it.
Please.
Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K. And keep on jawing about the movies.